Okay, this is the first lesson from chapter 1, lesson 2. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be analyzing function graphs. This video will be a little bit longer than usual. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the graphs of functions to find the values, domain, ranges, y-intercepts, and zeros of the function. And yes, you do need to know all of this. Okay, analyzing graphs. The graph of a function f is the set of the ordered pairs x to f of x, such that x is the domain of f of the function. In other words, the graph of f function is the graph of the equation y equals f of x. So the value of the function is the directed distance y of the graph from the point x on the x-axis as shown. You can use the graph of the function to estimate the function values. So I'll come back to domain and range, but we're going to do function values. This is really easy, but this is actually one of the most missed things on tests. What we're doing is, just remember, what we have to do is find f of 1. Just remember, this is f of x. So what is the domain value? What is the x value? Well, the x domain value is 1. So I go to 1. So 1's here. This is going by 2's, okay? And I go all the way up, right here. And it's about 2, okay? So by what we're doing is we're just estimating the graph. So f of 1 is about 2. So we're going to say 1.9. It's just an estimation. So if I was to figure out the point, it would be 1 and 1.9. Simple? Okay, same thing over here. We're going to use this graph, and this is actually a piecewise because it's broken and stuff, but we're going to find f of 0. So remember, 0 is your domain. 0 is the x that we're trying to find. So here's 0. I go up to the graph. I land right here, and that is 6. So x is 0, y is 6. So 0, 6. That's all it is finding values and estimating. Is you f of x, in the parentheses is your x value, and then you're trying to find the whole thing, which is your y value. Okay? So that's finding values. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find domain and range by looking at the graph. So this can get a little complicated, so we're going to do domain first. Domain, you have to remember, is domain is you're looking from left to right. That's all you're viewing. We're not looking at how long it stretches or anything like that. We look from the furthest left point to the furthest right point. So let's look at this. I'm going to use red for domain. The graph starts here on the left, and it ends here on the right. It's actually not too bad. So we just have to analyze it. Well, where I started is at the -2. And where I started, or ended, I started at the -4. I started at -4, and I'm ending at 4. So that little curve goes from -4 to 4. So if I write in set notation, and this is where you probably should go d equals, domain equals, we're going from -4, so -4 is less than, and it was a closed circle, so we need the equal sign, x, which is less than, this is an open circle, so we don't need the equal sign, 4, and x is an element of real numbers. So there is your set notation. All right, for your interval notation, it's just as easy. So my domain equals, I start at -4, so it's bracket, and I'm ending at 4, which is parentheses. So that is the domain. So domain is just reading from left to right. All right, let's do this domain. We're going to go from left to right. So furthest left is right here, and it's open circle. Kind of breaks a little bit here, but it's somewhat there, but I'm going to go ahead and put a line there. And it goes forever, so forever there. So I start at -4. There's a break at about 2, and then it continues on from 2 on. So we have to look at it just a little bit different. So my domain, okay, so we're going to look at the first thing because this is the furthest thing on the left. It's going from -4 to 2, and they're both open circles. So -4, x is less than x, which is less than 2. So that's the first one. So that if I had a piecewise, that's actually what the piecewise graph would say. And then it starts back up at 2, and it goes on forever. So x is greater than, and it's still open circle, so no equal, than 2. Sorry, I ran out of room. So x is an element of real numbers. All right? Okay, so now if I was to look at, let's do the interval. So I start at -4, and it doesn't equal, so -4 to 2. And it's a union, and I start back up at 2, and I go to infinity. So that would be the interval notation. So that is domain. So domain is looking left to right. Okay, let's do range. So I'm going to go ahead and erase all this so I can get the range. There's not enough room. Let's see if this works. Now range is what you're doing is you're looking from bottom to top. Okay, so I'll do blue with the range so we get the thing. So I'm going up, graph starts. So I'm putting here, there's an open circle, so I know it equals, and then I'm going right here. So the range is ranging from 0, I start, and it's ending right at 4. Okay, remember it's going by 2's on the graph. So my range, now you have to think about this, domain is x, and range is y. So now this is going to be huge. If you write x in the range spot, it will be wrong. So got y, and I'm going from 0 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 4, and y is an element of real numbers. So there's my range. If I was to write this in interval notation, I would go, my range is 0 to 4, and it equals it, so I need the brackets. So that's the range. Okay, this range is going to be a little more tricky. Okay, it goes down to negative infinity. Oops. Goes down to negative infinity. And I'm going up, and I'm stopping at 2. Does not equal because it's open circle. And then there's a whole bunch of space, and then all of a sudden I'm at 6. So, my range. I'm going to go ahead and erase the other range so I have room to write. Where's that one? So, my range would be y, the r equals. And so I'm going from, we'll do this one first. It's going to be less than or, it's going to be less than 2. So y is less than 2. And y equals 6. Because it's at the 6, it doesn't go anywhere else. And then that's going to be y is an element of real numbers. Oops, I put x. That would be wrong if it was on test, so y. All right, if I was to do interval notation, it would be just a little bit different. We're going from negative infinity to 2. Remember, it's open circle, so it doesn't equal. And it's the union of 6. So that would be the 6. So that would be the interval notation there. The reason we only have one number there, because it's just 6. You don't have to write 6 a couple times. All right, that's domain and range. So remember, repeat. Domain is left to right, range is bottom to top. Okay, we already did the value. Remember, you just plug it in. All right, y-intercepts. Hopefully, you'll get this in 2 seconds. It's where it crosses the y-axis. Not too bad. If I was to estimate it by the graph, that's 4. That's about 2 point something. Okay, that's a fair estimate. If I was to estimate it algebraically, which is really easy, they gave you the equations. Just remember, the y-intercept, the x value equals 0. So plug in 0. 0 to the third, 0 squared, 0 times 6 is 0. What's left over? I have 4. I estimated it to be 4. Algebraically, the answer is 4. So my y-intercept is 4. Or if I wrote it as a coordinate point, 0, 4. Okay, now we'll do this one. We estimate it to be about 2 point something, probably in the low 2s because it's not even in the middle. So I plug in 0. X squared is 0. 0 plus 6 is 6. So your y-intercept here is the square root of 6, which is 2 point something. Now, square root of 6 is more of an exact solution. 2 point something is just an estimation. So please know the difference. So the answer would be 0 and square root of 6. So if it asks for exact, square root of 6. If it asks for estimation, 2 point something, 2.2, 2.215, I mean, just estimate it. All right, so that's y-intercept. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, the last thing is finding the zeros of a problem. So just remember, finding your zeros is finding the x-intercept. It's solving the equations. So I just have one here. So finding the zeros is your x-intercept. There's the x-intercept. It crosses the x-axis. So x equals -1, 0, and 1. That's pretty simple. If I was to say solve x to the third minus x, the answers would be -1, 0, and 1. Okay, so let me quickly just solve it for you. X to the third minus x. I'm going to factor out an x, so I get x squared minus 1. Here comes the algebra. Difference of squares, x minus 1, x plus 1. So x equals 0, 1, and -1. Same thing for just looking at the graph. But that's finding the zeros. Of course, there is a tool in the calculator that can help you out, but remember, if it says estimation by looking at the graph, that's one thing. If it says the solve, you must show your work. Okay, the homework for this lesson was page 19, 1 through 23 odd. Of course, the answers are in the back of the book to help you out because it's going to be a lot of work. Don't copy. Thank you.